So we're starting in 3, 2, 1. Go. Anyways, this is King's Quest VII. This game you play as Valenice and Rosella of Daventry in alternating chapters. The plot line is as such. Rosella and Valenice are having a conversation about Rosella needing to kind of move on with her life and find a man. Or a prince, primarily, I should say. And she gets sucked into a whirlpool while following a hummingbird and gets pulled out of the whirlpool after Valenice goes in after her. And they both get displaced in this magical world. I might do Mo. B. So anyways, we're here in this desert area and we have to essentially find our way through that door over there to the left. So we just need to find some items to pick up and go through. Unlike the previous King's Quest games that were heavily relying upon the keyboard and kind of mouse, this one's almost completely dedicated mouse. Only thing I'm using the keyboard for really is menuing, which is like saving and exiting the menu, and adjusting the speed of the game, which I currently am holding the plus button on the. Oops. Nice.
Here.
Currently holding the plus button on the numpad constant the whole time. The reason why that is because the game likes to arbitrarily slow itself down after certain scenes. A little annoying, but you get used to it after a while. Anyways, that was a jackalope, and this is I think it's a crook. No, he's a kangaroo rat. You trade stuff with him. He's a real nice guy. Oh, got the fast one. So anyways, unlike other King's Quest games, this game has quite a few glitches. It's a well-made game, and we'll be seeing those glitches primarily in the next chapter. So there's this big scorpion. Take the petticoat that we had. I got ripped in the opening to this chapter. We tie it to that stick and use that kind of like a red cape for a bull. It seems to work. Ooh, that was actually a mistake. If you click on the hitboxes to exit certain areas, Valenice actually walks. The game will automate the walking sequence for that, and it's very slow. Or for exiting, it's usually. So what you want to do is click outside of that. So we now have this arrow.
It look.
That arrow with the extra big down point that just perfectly fits into that slot right there. And now we can go in here, and that is the end of the chapter. You have to watch this scene where this big Komodo dragon comes out of here, and it's very angry. An effect of holding down the plus button is that there's this cutscene skip button that comes up, and if I do that and hold the cursor over it, it does it first frame every time. Whoops. Wasn't supposed to do that, but whatever. No big deal. If I pick that up second, through the second run, I can save a few frames because her animation speeds up, her walking animation right here. Game's got a lot of weird things like that. Anyways, here's this cook. We need to give him a delicious rat. By the way, this is supposed to be Rosella right here. She got when she came here into the land of the trolls, she herself got turned into a troll as well. Everyone say it with me.
You know, Winnie,
I didn't say it. You know, Winnie. Anyways. So we need to get that. We need to get three things right here. We need to get that green goo that's right there. We need to get baked beetles, which is this right here. Actually, I think it's four things. Baked beetles, that liquid right there. We need a dragon scale and a silver spoon to be able to turn ourselves back from a troll into a human. So right here is a little section, a little puzzle that we have to do. You essentially need to put this guy to sleep, and the way to do that, that Winnie lady actually mentioned it, is to put sulfur and have sulfur for them to smell sulfur. Puts trolls to sleep. If I get this done right, I got it. Okay. So that's a little strat or a little technique we call fast spoon. How that works is that animations are kind of tied to each other in this game, where the speed of one animation can kind of determine another animation speed. And if you time it right, you can actually uh, get them to work. So right here, you may have noticed there's a bit of a warp right there, and there's also an out of bounds. I kind of hinted that this game was a bit glitchy. Yeah, that's the big glitch. You can out of bounds almost, oh, anywhere in any screen. Almost any screen, I should say. This is the big area. I forgot that's later on. You have to give her that. This dragon here. Or in a second.
um,
It doesn't hold. It is flashy, this out of bounds, but it really doesn't have a whole lot of use in RTA, unfortunately. It's pretty much this screen and that screen, and that's about it. There's maybe one or two other ones, but they're kind of inconsequential as far as time save.
I,
But right here, it is quite nice because there's what you're normally supposed to do right here is a puzzle using that little wagon and this troll guy. In fact, just for the heck of it, I'm going to try to get it. There's a left or right one here too, but there's a puzzle right there where you're supposed to fix that wagon with that shield that's in the main room and knock him into the lava. However, you can just using the out of bounds just walk right past him. Also, there's a bit of a glitch right here. The tail is up, and yet I'm getting the scale off of it, even though it's up. Yeah. In a previous revision of the game, like an actual revision of it, um, that was supposed to kill you if it came down, and it was supposed to be the one actual reference to King Graham that the game had. It'd be like, she would say something like, Oh, Daddy told me never to stay underneath something like that. I'm not sure. Anyways, we're giving here all the items. The bowl with the liquid in it, the silver spoon, and the dragon scale. Now we're back to normal. So Militia, who is the big bad of the game, shows up, and she locks us in the room, so we have to find a way out. We just stack
No.
these really quick, and yeah, there we go. We get a bit of exposition and information about this. Of her talking to King Otar, who is the king of the trolls. And we fall through here, and this little dragon toad shows up, which is like a toy that's kind of animated. We show it to Matilda here, who is King Otar's kind of like she's like the nanny, but she's really close to him, so she really cares about him. So, anyways, here's a big skip. Let's hopefully I can do it right. Nice. That's what we call the militia skip. It essentially employs the warp that's there, which is it's kind of like a weird glitch in the game where for some reason you can kind of warp across right there. There's a handful of other spots in the game that you can do that, but they're um, you can't really use them in RTA, so they're not routed in. But we use that to skip this puzzle that you need to use the rat in, the wind-up rat. And it's this big long screen. So, well, not it's about like a minute and a half or so. So now we're in chapter 3. Chapter 3 is a pretty much a straight shot through. There's nothing really special about it. It's just pretty much trying to do this as well as possible, or as execute it as well as possible. So we are now in the land of I think this is Eternia, if I recall correctly. And we're heading to the town of Falderall. Saw that we went past a big stag and a big tree. Those are actually the lady and the man and the lady of the lady and the man, however which way you want to say that, of the forest. It's essentially Mother Nature and the huntsman, and they both protect the forest. They've both been cursed. The man was turned into the stag, the lady was turned into the tree. And to make matters worse, she was stabbed by a knife and is bleeding out currently. So we need to find a way to help them later on. So that was, now we're in Falderall, and that was Fifi Le Yip Yap, the mayor of Falderall. And he comes up and gets angry at us, but what you do is you use the comb on yourself, which causes Valentine to start crying because she starts thinking that she's never going to see her daughter again. And then we go in there into the China place, and we see the bull in the China house, bull in the China shop, and he's missing his China bird. So that snake oil salesman happened to have nabbed the China bird and was keeping a cost on. Whoops, that just mixed me up. This bot is seeing my Chuck Grody channel here on Twitch. Wow. Don't say. Hey Colin, can you take that one out or do you think it's entertaining? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Silly bots here on Twitch. I don't know what it is. It is. It is entertaining. It's stupid. They just have like this pre preset out like Mad Lib. And they just take your stream title and your name and just add it to it. It's silly. So, anyways, we're going through here. That's FIFA the Yip Evans' birthday, and so we kind of walk through the birthday and go into the back. We're dressed up as a with a mask, a human mask, mind you. So for some reason they can't tell that you're a human with a human mask. Anyways, you go into this MC Escher painting right here, and what you needed to do is get that um, mirror, because the snake oil salesman says something to you about, oh, I know how to get something for you, blah blah blah. So you had to get that for him. So we walk over here to the right of the town, and what happens is the moon falls out of the sky, and Chicken de Petite right here goes nuts because she's been screaming, running around screaming the sky is falling. And so what
Oh, hello.
we need to give him
I
that and that. So the moon falls out of the sky. Chicken de Petite goes crazy. We go into the faux shop, which we're told beware of the faux shop. Take it with a grain of salt. So we eat some salt and go in there, trade 2 items, get 2 more items. And now we have to go back through Eternia over to the desert and trade that book to the kangaroo rat for a crook. But before that, we're gonna that hummingbird we helped earlier is very happy to be alive, of course, and offers to give us some of that nectar of the flower. Turns out that nectar is quite important, but we will find that out in the next chapter. I should mind you, you see me walking really close to the screen down here. It's because
Would you?
if you walk too close to the jackalope, it blows a raspberry at you. Ooh, speaking of that, almost. Whoops. Ah, my mouse is in a weird position. Oof, can't even talk right now. Anyways, I'm just gonna go up here. I'll be past it. So, but yeah, you want to walk as close to the bottom of the screen to avoid the raspberry, and he can blow raspberries at you pretty much anytime. Go past this thing, this hole. So we just kind of need to go back to Balderall and use the crook that we have to get the moon out of that pond, or yeah, the pond or fountain, whatever you want to call it. Because for some reason, Valenice doesn't want to get wet and grab it. You know, needed a cane to do it. Whatever. So that's pretty much the end of chapter 3. Like I said, straight shot through it. So now we are. My nose is really itchy. I don't know why. Now we're in the land of Ooga Booga with Rosella. And the first thing we do when we're here in Booga Booga is talk to this gravekeeper. And you may notice that his animation is very, very slow. The reason for that, this game had a very, very rough development period, and the biggest bugbear for them was their animation studios, and I think the budget for the game, honestly. The biggest, they changed the animation studios all over, like for every chapter, and with that, the animation studios actually changed locations too. Some of them were in America, some were in Germany, some were in Russia. Yeah. Anyways, here's an instance of RNG. Um, right here is where pretty much all the RNG starts, and there's a lot of it in this run. The this little elevator right here can can either be there or not be there depending on whether or not you're on the screen, or depending on the screen. Anyways, those are two bad kids. I don't really remember their names off the top of my head. Sorry. But they had a spine and a foot in a bag. We need the spine to give to this guy, Dr. Mort Cadaver. They literally stole his spine. Or should I say a backbone. I forgot that I could have just stayed there and gave that to him. Anyways, he gave him back his spine. He gives us a pet, also known as Cadaverous, which we need to give to him right now. They kind of bait you right here, where they want you to kind of like go on there so that they can kill you. But you just kind of put the pet on right here, and that's that. So what they were throwing around right there was this rat, which happens to be his pet or friend primarily. Oh, whoops. So they have a black cat in here. And the black cat's very happy to be survived, that it gives us one of its lives. You know, cats have 9 lives. Anyways, the gravekeeper needed a rat because, other than it being his friend, it also is what he uses for his automated grave digging machine. So right now we need to find the boogeyman. Well, primarily we need to find his lair, which happens to be over here. Because we need to go in there because we suspect that the real King Otar is being held prisoner in there. And to be able to get rid of these bones that happen to be on top of Boogeyman's lair, we needed the Gravekeeper's digging machine. Get them out of the way. We skipped the scene earlier, but Melisha was actually talking to the King Otar that's in the Troll Kingdom. He's, as I said, he's a imposter. He's not the real one. We'll find out who he actually is later on in the game. So there's King Otar, and as soon as you let him free, Melisha shows up and redoes everything that we just moved. Now we're stuck in here, and it's unfortunately a little cramped. So he says, bring me to the Troll Kingdom and I can help reverse everything. So I should say, actually, the big plan for Melisha is she's very angry and she wants to get back at the other fairies that live at the top of Eternia. And her, sorry for kind of doing that, I'm just trying to keep focus a little bit on the game. The primary thing that she wants to do is erupt this volcano that is in the Troll Kingdom, which would, well, essentially destroy everything around here. So we need to stop her. She's evil. Very evil. Right now we escaped that, and we happen to notice that I'm dressed that Rosella, I should say, not me. Rosella is dressed in a black cloak. There used to be two people that ran, or well, there used to be a count that actually ran or that ruled over Ooga Booga. He unfortunately died and became a headless horseman, and his wife was stricken with grief, died, and constantly just sits in front of his grave crying. And anyone who comes near her dies because she looks at them and they just fall down dead. So everyone's afraid of her. So we impersonate her. Thus we impersonate her. So that was a big plant monster. We spray some stuff at him and we get past him. These are like 3 man-eating plants, so we throw the foot in the bag at them because they like that. And now we go to Melicia's house. I should mind you, there's RNG right here. Alicia has a dog named Cuddles. It's this ugly little dog. And it happens to be that, whoops, Cuddles is a guard dog. And that anything that comes near the house while Cuddles is home, while Militia and Cuddles are home, Cuddles starts barking at. And if that happens, you can try coming in here right now, which is what we are supposed to do. Whoops, I was supposed to walk over there to save some frames. Cuddles will start barking at it, and if you go in there, you'll die. So you have to wait for proper RNG. And so when we're in here right now, Cuddles goes over to this knot hole that's in the ground and starts sniffing us, hiding underneath there while Militia goes and does whatever Militia's doing. And we spray that powder in his face. Oops, wrong thing. And he starts sneezing uncontrollably.
How odd.
A hint for that is actually in chapter 3, when you go up to the powder room, and the powder hits you in the face and you start coughing. Yeah.
Ew. Wow.
That's clothing reviews by Rosella, by the way. She's not too keen on Militia's fashion choices. So anyways, that's all we need from there. We need this strange device and this rough stocking. Important thing to note, you have to impersonate the Count's wife once more. Otherwise the boogeyman will show up. We never do see the boogeyman in this. For good reason. Kind of want to avoid him. But he shows up. If you idle too long on the screen over there in Booga Booga, he'll show up. Anyways, here's a werebear. So we need to get rid of the werebear by using the rough stocking with what was left of the silver spoon. You know, because werebears can die from getting shot by silver. Except, you know, this is King's Quest. Nobody actually dies in this. Look how cartoony this game is. Come on. This is wholesome entertainment right here. Now as Rosella, we need to go to Falderall. See me leaning forward. I'm getting a drink of water. Anyways, Phoebe Yippee Yap is spinning and chasing his tail, and he bites it and tells you, oh, you're Rosella. There's another one of those pink things. And he mentions your mother, or Valenice. And he's like, Mother? You're here? She doesn't know. She doesn't know that she's even here. She didn't know that she jumped in after her. So anyways, got to go through the NC Escher painting one more time. Over to the powder room. It just so happens that there's something more to this powder room than just powder and silly mirrors. Anyways, you got to use the rough stocking to polish that little inscription right there. You got to read it,
I'm hungry.
which gives you a riddle. And what you got to do is go over to those golden grapes right there. Take the golden grapes, go over to the kid, the little cupid right there, put it in his mouth, and he spits it out into this fountain. The fountain raises up.
That's
The fountain, we have to go inside of the fountain because it just so happens is the entrance to the underground volcano control. Clever, huh? Nobody would have ever thought to look there. Anyways, some more great animations right there. And oh, where's my split pedal? Alright, that's the end of chapter 4. So, chapter 5, the first thing we need to do is put the moon up in the sky. And this is for Jam Eveler. Gotta bite the cheese. Very necessary. So, chapter 5 has the most devastating RNG in the game. Thus far, I've gotten pretty lucky, put simply. Anyways, the snake oil salesman really wanted that, as I mentioned before, really wanted that magic statue. So he gives us some werebear salve for helping him out, or for giving that to him. So we were notified that there was this rock spirit over here that's sleeping. We need to wake him up and tell him the situation at hand. And the only way to do that is to use a, well, feather under his nose to make him sneeze. He says some stuff about stuff, and that's about it. So, right now, I got this nectar earlier, and it turns out the nectar is very important. You may notice that this riverbed is a dry riverbed. You may notice I've been skipping rocks over it, or jumping over those rocks. If you go into the actual river, it's pretty much quicksand, and Valenice will die. So we need to fill the river, and that's exactly what we did. You needed to put the nectar into that statue. The statue happens to turn the nectar into water and fill the river. And after that, Lord Addis, who is the stag, goes over there, drinks the water, and changes back. And it cures his polymorph spell. Or curse. So we take that and wear ourselves, put the jackalope fur in it, rub it on ourselves, and Valenice temporarily turns into a jackalope. And we end up over here in Ooga Booga. However, plant monster shows up, but since we saved Lord Addis, he just zaps it, and that's that. There you go. Noble Lord Addis. Those man-eating plants actually whistle at, or wolf whistle at Valenice. But I skipped it. So, anyways, same RNG as before. We have to have the elevator show up. This is what we in the community call Pumpkin Please. So that was like, what, 4 tries? I think the record right now for that is 12. Bad RNG. Anyways, there's this like bone here that we need to get. It's pretty much the whole reason of coming up here. So you also may have noticed that the animation for Rosella going out of there was a bit shorter, and it's a little bit longer for Valenice, unfortunately. Anyways, We need to go left of this house, and we'll see the Count's wife, as I mentioned, crying in front of his grave. Then we go up here, and there's the combination we used for the crypt, or the coffin where King Otar was. And this there's dog, pardon me, comes out and starts barking at us. Oh, he gave us one extra bork. So we need to throw this bone at him. You know, he's a good boy. Very good boy. He sniffs it and starts chewing on it, and we talk to him, because you can always talk to animals in these games. Hey, Jim Lyle. Hey, Dorpy again. What's up, dude? What's up, guys? So he explains the situation of what happened with the Count, and you say, that's horrible. I think I can actually help you. He says, take this medal off of my neck. The lady would like to have it. You could give it to her. Also, nice little glitch walk right there. She kind of like shimmies to the left, to the right, her right, our left, mind you. So anyways, we do that to get her to kind of leave the grave alone so that we can get in there. And the only way that we can get in there, because it's locked, you know, we don't have the key, is, well, Alfalfa right here is chasing after the cat with a bunch of lit firecrackers. So we need to take this firecracker over to the lock before it explodes. Fun fact, it's gonna explode. Maybe a lot. This is tied to your CPU speed. And in fact, it was actually a big problem for the game as hardware got more and more and more advanced. Sierra themselves actually had to patch that out. So anyways, we get in here, we move this over, which happens to have a statue of the dog, whose name is evading me right now. Then we have to sit here and wait for him to show up, which he usually does almost instantaneously. I just wasn't in the right position. So anyways, there he is. We have his head, and we give him back his head, and it goes back to normal as soon as it's put on his neck. His wife goes back to normal. He gets the dog. Everything's fine. So he says, "Here, have this flute that I use to call my flying horse Necromancer." So we get the flute to go call Necromancer, and Necromancer brings us up here to Eternia, I think it's called. There's a different name for the forest. I was just kind of calling it Eternia. That's pretty much what the whole land is called. So anyways, now that we're here, we need to get this right here, which is it's called Ambrosia. By the way, this input is really glitchy. I have to wait until the item itself, the Ambrosia itself, actually ends up in my inventory. Otherwise, she'll grab it and I can move before it actually registers, and then the action of her grabbing it and putting it in the inventory gets nullified. Stuff like that you learn from running this game many, many, many times. Alright, I hope I can remember the music. Whoops. Whoops. Sorry, it's been a little while since I played this. Oh, goodness. Whoops. Um. Um. That was it. I think I was clicking on the wrong one, surprisingly enough, because I remembered that. Okay, so we do that, and we go up here and we talk to the Fates. Fates are very delicate ladies. They tell us some stuff. We need to help, like one of their sisters that happens to be in trouble right now. But to do that, we have to do a bunch of stuff right now. But important thing to note, the fates are very sensitive, ladies. You gotta treat the ladies with respect. So when you're doing that, um, you don't. Oh wait, wrong way. I go this way first. You don't click like crazy on them. You just kind of right click. The reason why that is because they're kind of glitchy and they'll crash the game. Had that happen a few times before on world record pace. Smile. Anyways, I should actually mention the movement tech in this game. Primarily, I'm alternating left and right click at a very fast rate, and I'm essentially mashing the whole time because that's what you have to do. And what that does is it moves Valenies forward a couple pixels on certain screens. It's also just a lot faster. So the whole run, I'm pretty much just going like with two fingers. It's quite comfortable. So, anyways, we have to go to who we're trying to save is this woman. Her name is Lady Mab, and she's stuck frozen in carbonite in Dreamland. So we have to find a way to enter Dreamland while awake and take our items with us and save her life and essentially save her. There is a way to do that, believe it or not. Ah, whoops. I forgot the flute, when you use it, Valenius will always walk to the edge of the screen. So yeah, that's pretty much our quest. We have to find a way to do that. Fortunately, we need only a little bit more counseling. We need to talk to the Lady of the Forest, and that means that we're going to save her life right now. If I get lucky right here, you can actually see the second or the third instance of out of balance that has been routed into the game. But it's very difficult to actually execute because the game runs rather quickly. Ah, when I take this turn right here, you can kind of have her turn around for a second and she'll just walk across the screen. Anyways, we put the ambrosia in the cornucopia. The cornucopia spits out a pomegranate seed. We use the pomegranate seed to save her life somehow. I don't know the logic of it. It just works like that. Um, she goes over there to start to restore the forest to its original splendor. And we take Necromancer back up here to Eternia, where we go back to Ooga Booga Land, because she tells you that you need a crystal, a powered crystal to be able to melt the carbonite that Lady Mab is stuck in. That means a second instance of Cuddles RNG. Now Cuddles RNG, you can't just cycle the screen like that. You actually need to go over here and then back. Luckily we got, luckily it was only a one cycle. So that's the same with Rosella. We go in here, hide, and there's supposed to be a puzzle right there where you actually give Cuddles a berry from the ambrosia. And in his mind, he thinks it tastes like a bone. Also, quite literally, their whole excursion right here is for her to powder her face and then she leaves. So, smart. But that puzzle, for some reason, was actually taken out by Sierra. I'm not entirely sure why. Important thing to note is that if you actually mess that up, it is a huge time waste. Like, that scene takes a long time to pass. So easy reset point right there. So now that we have the crystal, we need something to charge it because we need to use energy to be able to do it. And by that energy, we need the sun's energy. So there's only one place that the sun is in this game. At least enough sun. That's in the desert. So going back to the desert. There's a skeleton of some guy. Nobody knows who he is. Doesn't really matter anyways. He's not important. So remember that place where the giant scorpion was? And we need to go in there. And the sun, his eyes shooting light down. Oh. Use that to charge it up. And now we have everything we need to save Lady Mab. Something else I'd like to note about the animation studio. Notice the difference in color between a necromancer in that area versus this area. Consistency there, fellas. So anyways, we need a little more counseling from the Fates. So we had to go back up here and hopefully I can play the harp properly this time. I'm usually quite good at this. There we go. The same thing as before. Hands off.
I have.
Right click again. I should mind you, right clicking skips blocks of dialogue in this. It's the same thing in King's Quest V, the CD version, and King's Quest 6. Right clicking is your friend in this. But I just mashed left and right click like a madman anyway, so. So now we have to go up here. And they give us a dream catcher because we have to go talk to the Dream Weaver. However, the entrance to the Dream Weaver has a nightmare in front of us, so we need to catch that nightmare. Our dream catcher. Fortunately, it kind of acts like the proton pack. Or is it the trap? I forget, from Ghostbusters. One where they trap Slimer. Anyways, we do that, then we show that we caught his nightmare. He suddenly decides to cooperate with us, and we tell him that his sister's in trouble. Because Lady Mav's his sister. It gives us this magic carpet, and we use that to travel to Dreamland. Fun fact, this is the one section of the game where I actually need to take my finger off of plus on the numpad, because if I were to hold it on, the game would speed up. This whole section of me waiting for the that nightmare, for that little bit of time that I have for the nightmare attacks Valanies, it would be sped up if I held plus for some weird reason. So now we save Lady Mab using sun. She's stuck in here because there's no sun. And they're stuck in that because there was no sun to melt the ice or carbonite or whatever the hell that is. So anyway, she says a bunch of stuff, hands us a saddle. Or, is it a saddle? I don't remember. And sends us on our way. Okay. I waited long enough. This is the biggest RNG game. This is what determines runs. This is the horse RNG. Theoretically, from what we know, or assume, this horse shows up between 0 and 60 seconds. It's dependent, we assume it's dependent upon the DOS time, like the actual time in DOS. Between, yeah, so anyways, what we need to do is throw this at the horse when it shows up. And what that will do is allow us to ride it up to talk to the fairies and other wind spirits at the top of the mountain. That was terrible, horse RNG. That's chapter 5. I need those. So anyways, we go up there, we tell them about what's happening with Militia, they just agree to help us, and then everything goes over to chapter 6 right here, where you're playing Rosella. Where the two kings were fighting with one another. And we shoot the fake one, and it turns out that it's Edgar from King's Quest IV. Edgar from King's Quest IV, then, mind you. If you want to know about his backstory, play King's Quest IV, or wait till the end of the run, the ending, because they kind of summarize it, essentially. He was transformed into the evil king, into the fake King Otar, to pretty much act as like her pawn that they could control. That the trolls would be under control, and they didn't think that anything was actually happening. Shovel. Anyways, she's pretty much enacting her plan right here. The volcano's slowly bubbling up, and we have to find a way to turn it off. The only one who can do that is the actual King Otar. Mind you, Edgar, when he was polymorphed into the other King Otar, actually did think he was King Otar. Hence why he was so cooperative. He just didn't have the, how can we say, confidence that King Otar has. So anyways, right now what we need to do is get past this, which is, it's right eye, left eye, and then nose. I messed up. It's been a minute since I played this, so bear with me. It's right eye, left eye, nose. That's what happens when you mess it up. Or is it left eye, right eye, nose? It's been a while. Mind you, I am actually on a timer, because everything will, or the volcano will erupt if I waste too much time. At least I think so. That might have been patched out. That's what happens when you do it right. So the first thing we need to do here is plug in the strange device into the wall, because it needs to charge. And then we need to wake up King Otar. You remember the, Winnie lady? She mentioned, her friend mentions that her husband snores a lot, and the way that she wakes him up is by giving him a flower, because for some reason, sulfur smells good to trolls, the flowers smell awful. So it immediately wakes him up. Anyways, he pulls a bunch of levers, smacks a bunch of stuff, like characters in movies entering data into computers, and that just happens. Then he sits there and watches the show. Like, just keep your eye on King Otar. He's great. He's pretty much the audience right here. Like, uh-oh, what are we gonna do? The important thing to note here is I still have the flower as my active item. I need to put that back in my inventory. And then zap her with the strange device, which happens to turn her into a baby. So you turn her into a baby, Cuddles comes up, sniffs her, starts barking. She grabs him, and he sits there dazed like a character in Street Fighter. And you can zap him right here, but it's actually slower, believe it or not. What you're supposed to do is hold the extra life over Edgar, and once you give that to him, it's time.
I thought we'd never see
Look at
you
the
again.
keep your eyes on the facial expressions of this at the ending here. It's great.
Valanice, I cannot thank you enough. You have not only saved our world,
There's the king,
you have given us
king
back our
himself.
greatest treasure, our son.
Your son,
Thank you, everybody. I'm
Edgar?
quite professional at this, despite my
You?
time being
You
terrible.
know our son?
Well, you see, I was stolen as a baby by an evil fairy named Lolotte. She twisted my body and tried to twist my mind, but somehow I knew I was not her son. Then Rosella appeared. I knew she was special.
Mm.
She released me from my slavery to Lolotte, and I
Oh,
went
here's
home
the
to
real king.
Etheria.
We were so happy. The
Etheria,
whole
that's the name of
kingdom
it.
was overjoyed. We held a ball in our son's honor.
Our boy vanished from the gardens
My
on the night
boy.
of the party. We were crushed. We set off to search for him immediately. Now I know it was all part of Melicia's evil plot.
That's the summary of King's Quest
Something
4
went
and the
terribly wrong with
what
you, my
happens with
sister.
Edgar in the early parts of
Let
King's
us
Quest
start
7.
over again, shall we?
Rosella, it was I who lured you into this world. I kidnapped you. I know you can never forgive me.
It's kind of creepy.
Please, let me assure you that I was not in my right mind. I would never have done that had I known.
Edgar, would you show me the sights of Etheria? After all, it's what I came for.
What's up, Blazin'? How you doing, dude? So that's pretty much the ending of it. You got this little scene and something else, something very special at the end.
It's so beautiful.
Rosella, you've been in my heart since the day I first saw you. Rosella, may I have the honor of courting you?
Yes, you may.
See, a real gentleman asks. And that's the end. Mama and Papa wave him off. Or is it? Yep, much like King's Quest 6, there's an ending song. And I like singing this one. Sing along if you know the words. Grow up, young lady, that's what they all say. It's time to settle down, push childish things away. Happy, thrilled, delighted, you're going to be a bride. Yes, I'm so excited, I want to hold and hide. I want to go to a land beyond dreams, where everything's new, not really what it seems. Enchantment, adventure are waiting for me. I'll find that magic land, a man beyond me. There, that's my best fake vibrato for you. Special thanks to Mom and